Hey everyone, it's Abrar with WHRB Cambridge back with another deep dive episode. It's certainly been a while. The last few weeks have been extremely busy for me, but deep dive is back and we'll be back for the next 5 weeks or so until the semester ends. On this episode, we'll be taking a closer look at the humanitarian crisis of the Uyghur Muslims in China. If this is the first time you're hearing about this, don't worry, because I'd expect it is for most people. After all, it really doesn't get anywhere near the news coverage that it should. If this isn't the first time you've heard about this, you probably have some keen and discerning news sources. I definitely keep them. To start, the Uyghurs are a predominantly Turkic Muslim ethnic group that lives in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China. Don't let the word autonomous fool you, though. If anything, the Chinese don't know anything but absolute control, no matter what the titles say. The Uyghurs have their own distinct language, history, culture, and ethnic identity apart from the Chinese. They are predominantly Muslim and one of the many Turkic ethnic minorities that practice Islam, along with the Uyghurs, the Kazakhs, the Uzbeks, and several other groups. Overall, Muslims make up around an estimated 1 to 2% of the Chinese population, and the Uyghurs make up almost 50% of Xinjiang's total population. As a communist regime, the Communist Party of China, or the CPC, is extremely skeptical of religion. And you could argue that skeptical is a weak word here, and that something like threatened would be more accurate. The constitutional position of the CPC is that there is religious freedom, but only within the acceptable and sanctioned bounds of the state. This means that in China, religious freedom constitutes practicing state-approved practices of state-approved religions, which honestly is not religious freedom at all. Officially, the regime espouses atheism, which is in line with what communist regimes usually do, and an unsurprising 70% of the Chinese population is atheist or non-religious. Religion has a surprisingly powerful capacity to unite mass amounts of people under one ideology quite effectively. This makes religion a direct rival to an authoritarian communist regime like that of China. There can be nothing as potentially powerful as the government itself. Nothing that can rival their constant battle to unite and control the masses. And definitely nothing that can foster dangerous heterogeneous identities, which could then lead to developing foundations and mechanisms for political dissatisfaction and societal upheaval. Check out the Iranian Revolution of 1979 if you want to see the ways religion can do that. Basically, nothing can be as remotely powerful, potent, and defining as the Communist Party of China. Under the CPC's constitutional policy with regards to religion, there is no opportunity for any religion to become threatening to the Chinese due to the state-controlled nature of religious practice. In the event a religion is viewed to have become dangerous in the aspects outlined above, the Chinese seek to eliminate the threat, as we'll now see with the Uyghurs. To put it concisely, the Uyghurs, among other majority Muslim and Turkic ethnic groups in China, are facing extreme religious, ethnic, and cultural persecution. An estimated 1 million of them are now in internment camps, where they're subject to various forms of torture like waterboarding, as well as sleep and food deprivation. In the camps, people are also subject to religious and cultural brainwashing, as well as forced indoctrination into communist ideology, conducted alongside torture. Outside the camps, the people in this Xinjiang region, who are predominantly Uyghur, are now prohibited from abstaining from things like pork, alcohol, and smoking, all of which are prohibited in Islam. Women can't wear hijabs anymore, men can't grow beards, children can't be named traditionally Muslim names. They face extreme surveillance in the form of ID cards and facial recognition technology, and their travel is restricted, so they're unable to go to Hajj. Overall, it's a humanitarian crisis on an extreme level, and we still don't definitively know what's really going on, so it could very well be much worse. The Chinese claim that these are re-education camps, that here they are versing the majority Uyghur Muslim prisoners in various arts and sports, and removing traces of extremism amongst their population. I call BS. Here's the thing. Like I said before, the Uyghurs have a distinct ethnic and cultural identity separate from the Chinese. They have a distinct history and a distinct religion. Their native region, Xinjiang, wasn't even part of China until the 18th century, and even then it was under weak control until the eventual founding and strengthening of the People's Republic of China. in the 20th century. The kicker, though, is a small separatist movement within Xinjiang that the Chinese feel threatened by, and is the reason why they're doing this in the first place. The Chinese despise heterogeneity. They despise anything that deviates even a little from the carefully constructed norm they peddle every single day. The Uyghurs, with their distinct ethnic and cultural identity and small separatist movement, are exactly what the Chinese hate, and as such, the Chinese feel the need to try and break the Uyghurs into submission through whatever means necessary. Religious extremism is not the reason here. Authoritarianism and weak egos that are terrified of difference are. Religion is simply part of the Uyghurs' distinct identity and is just one of the many factors that feeds into the CPC's fear of difference. They're also scared of the unifying and mobilizing power of religion and what that could mean for the integrity of their state. Instead of trying to embrace the relative heterogeneity of the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslim ethnic groups and truly incorporate them into Chinese society with their difference, they try instead to wipe an entire group's religious, ethnic, and cultural identity, which arguably could raise tensions and make things even worse for them. This is the mark of true, despicable, and disgusting cowardice, in my opinion. The cherry on top here is the lukewarm reaction by the international community, which can be summed up in a bunch of condemnation statements with no real teeth. Classic. Every time an ethnic or religious minority comes under persecution, the international community turns a blind eye until it's too late. Then the tragedy is included in the textbooks. People talk about how it was a grave mistake not to get involved, how it was their biggest political regret as heads of state or whatever other position with sway not to get involved. But does that really change anything? No. It happens again and again and again in the same exact fashion. It happened to the Armenians. It happened to the Jews, then the Rwandans, and now the Uyghurs. And there's even a Rohingya Muslim genocide in Myanmar, which honestly needs a whole episode dedicated to it. Point is, the international community very well could do something about this, but repeatedly chooses not to until it's too late. I hope this time won't be like all the others, even though I don't necessarily have high hopes due to the precedent and lack of action so far. I'd definitely like to see some countries prove me wrong though, so we'll see about that. That was a lot, and it for today's episode. I hope you all liked it. Definitely let me know what you think. Also, if you ever have any topic suggestions, definitely comment them down below or send them over to the Deep Dive Instagram at DeepDiveWHRB. I'm also going to look into getting this thing on Spotify soon. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see. As always, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you.